Welcome to This Song Is Yours, the podcast where we dive deep into the art of songwriting, chat with some of the most exciting artists in the world, and explore the stories behind their songs. I am your host, Simon Fink, and as always, thank you very much for joining us. Our guest this week on the podcast and rounding out our extremely packed month of May with extra guests, it's the one and only Jack Antonoff. One of the most celebrated and in-demand figures in modern music, Jack has accumulated 13 Grammy Awards and built a reputation as one of the finest producers of his generation, crafting records alongside the likes of Sabrina Carpenter, Kendrick Lamar, and yes, Taylor Swift, amongst many others. But when he steps away from that production chair, Jack channels his view of the world through Bleachers, the New Jersey indie rock band that he fronts, making Springsteen-esque literary rock music that feels all at once timeless and urgently modern. Their 2024 self-titled record was a landmark moment for the band, growing their audience to new heights and culminating in a sold-out show at Madison Square Gardens on their From the Studio to the Stage tour. And last week, Bleachers returned with their fifth studio album, Everyone for 10 Minutes, a beautiful evolution of the band's sound and a record on which Jack turns his pen to hope, grief, and the texture of ordinary life. Today, we're welcoming Jack Antonoff back to the podcast to dig into all things Everyone for 10 Minutes. We talk about the sonic evolution of this new record and the production techniques Jack was keen to explore this time around. We get into what separates the Jack Antonoff of Bleachers from the Jack Antonoff who walks into the studio with someone like Sabrina Carpenter, how he navigates those two creative identities. And then we also discuss the ongoing evolution of his songwriting and the things that he's still hungry to learn and push further. Now, we want to say a massive thank you to Layla for her help with today's episode. Everyone for 10 Minutes is out right now. You'll find links in the show notes on where you can stream the record, buy the vinyl, and keep up to date with everything that Jack Antonoff and Bleachers have going on. While you are in the show notes, please make sure you subscribe to This Song Is Yours and follow us on Instagram and TikTok. It really does help us out and it keeps you up to date on new episodes, guests, and everything else that we've got going on. Head along to our website as well, thissongisyors.com.au. Our playlist feature also has curated playlists from artists and music curators, and we would have announced it this week, but we now have some merch, so please head along to buy a This Song Is Yours tote bag. They're pretty cool, if I say so myself, but let's not listen to me for too much longer. Let's get into it. Here is our conversation with Jack Antonoff of Bleachers. We took the sadness right from Saturday night. Now only my people can see me. Only my people come in. Everybody. Please welcome back to This Song Is Yours, Jack Antonoff from Bleachers. Jack, hello, sir. How are we?
I'm good.
It is very lovely to see you. Very lovely to have you back on the podcast. Thank you for giving us some of your time, especially in the midst of, I want to say Bleacher season. Bleacher fever. What are we kind of calling this?
Big Bleacher season.
Yeah,
it's always crazy when it comes back because it's like seeing all your old friends again. It's like a reunion of sorts, and I feel like that's what the album is like, coming back and telling people what's been going on, and then the shows start to happen and they start to tell me and they tell each other. It's just a very, it's a really exciting time for me. It's a part I really enjoy.
I absolutely love to hear that. I know that for some artists, for some musicians, the album cycle, the press cycle and everything else with putting it out can be a little bit, not daunting, but it's not their favorite part of the job. But it is nice to know that we obviously do have that love from the musician themselves. It is an incredible album, this new Bleachers record. Congratulations on Everyone for 10 Minutes.
Yeah, no, I enjoy. I mean, I don't know. Maybe, I've been at this a little bit of time, so I also feel like I have a good barometer of conversations I want to be in versus sort of ones that are more exhausting on the soul. So most of the time I'm just enjoying myself.
Which is totally fair. I was wanting to begin our conversation today. This is the fifth record in the Bleachers discography, as well as many people would know that you're involved in many different projects as a producer or a songwriter, a different capacity. I'm wondering, as this new album is coming out for Bleachers, is there anything that you do to acknowledge when new music comes out? Is there a ritual? Is there like what's the word I'm looking for? Like a tradition almost.
No, there is. I go back when I'm about to put an album out. I find myself really kind of wistful about the journey. Like it's your last one, just because the nature of the work is so random. So the moment I'm in now of is like, it's one of massive gratitude, but also like shock. Like, I can't believe I'm here again. And what it makes me want to do is almost like like I'm always looking so far into the future, and then I feel very present when I put out music. So I just start obsessively thinking about the shows and writing set lists and thinking about things I want to do and how I want to play and new arrangements, things I want to talk about. I just get very obsessed with the moment I'm in right now.
I can appreciate that. And especially as someone who's across so many facets of your music, you are the songwriter, you're the performer, you're the producer. I imagine that there's elements of mixing and mastering that you kind of maybe play around with as well. Is that evident when you're then sitting down to write a new album, and specifically talking about Everyone for 10 Minutes? Are there times where you can hear or even see, I guess maybe, I'm not sure what the right part of that is, when you're writing a song, can you already envision those future parts that you're then going to be playing around with, whether it's the production, whether it's the live arrangement, things like that?
Oh yeah. Sometimes that's the very thing that makes me want to write the song in the first place. Sometimes this feeling of, oh, what if there was this, Hammond B3 and 2 drums and an harmonica, like sometimes that the very notion of what if is exactly, sorry, I'm just making some tea, is exactly what tricks me like into writing. So it's always happening. It gets really acute in this moment where like now I'm starting to like truly imagine, not just imagine, but enact, like put it all together. It's like, the shows become now almost the fire you put into making an album now transfers onto the shows. Now the shows are this living thing. The album is like this historical document. And now it's every night is this like crazy living organism, and anything can happen. And we have all the information from last night, and yet all the complete wide open frontier of the future, and you put it all together, and it's just, it's a different art form than making albums that I've spent my whole life engaging in, is how to present it like the last night on earth every night.
One thing that I think that you've done incredibly well on this new record is the production. And I think that it's also such a silly thing to compliment someone like yourself on, who was obviously very well known and congratulated for being an incredible producer. But I think that on this record, it should be noticed. It should be acknowledged that there's just this incredible evolution, I want to say, of the Bleachers sound. I think that on songs like The Van, like this beautiful 60s, 70s soul almost like sound at the start, which sounds like a sample, which I don't think it is a sample.
That is a sample.
Okay.
But even outside of the sample, a lot of the stuff that the band is doing is mirroring the feeling of that. So what you could be remarking on could be as much the sample or other parts as well.
Well, that's the thing. I think the way that it interplays in it is difficult to like ascertain for the listener whether it is a sample or whether it's yourself. I think that there was certain layerings of instruments in Dirty Wedding Dress. I Can't Believe You're Gone had this beautiful fragility to it in the production. And I think that there must be something fun about knowing or having that skill set to play around with also when you're writing the music, and being able to go, cool, let's add, as many kind of different layers. And even if it's only small instrumentation or small flourishes of production, that it's kind of cool to have that to know that you've got it in your back pocket almost.
Yeah, there's obviously just like the magic part, but then there's like a craft as well that makes it easier for me to arrive places that I'm trying to arrive. So like just the sheer knowledge of like knowing how to do things in a different way can be just really exciting. Like a song like I Can't Believe You're Gone, where I was thinking a lot about, like 80s kind of Irish music, when all of a sudden like the presence of like certain synthesizers come in playing traditional, like, you can have like an aesthetic thought and then just know how to do it, which is fun. And then it's also fun when you kind of don't know what the fuck you're doing and you stumble on them. Like I got this harpsichord I just got.
Oh, nice.
You know, like that's all over the album because I just like saw it and I was like, fuck does that sound like? And I just ended up banging around on it. And that became a leader in like songs like You and Forever. And I'm not joking. But production in general with Bleachers, it's like, I feel the same way at Bleachers I feel with anyone that I've been in process with for a long time, where it's like just pushing it to the point where it's its own world, you know. So when the first Bleachers album comes out, everyone might hear this like John Hughes lovelorn 80s thing, and then it moves and it shakes and it gets more New Jersey and it gets here and there. And there's something about this album to me where when I hear it, and when I was working on it, I, regardless of what corner of the universe I was in, I just wanted every song to feel like Bleachers. Like it could not possibly be anyone else. Like there was not a reference point other than ourselves.
I think you've done an incredible job of that. And it's not simply saying that to suck up to because we are chatting with one another. I think that it's evident that the sound that Bleachers put out can only really be made by the band listening to the record and, listening to songs like Dirty Wedding Dress. As I mentioned, what was it? I Can't Believe You're Gone. That was one of my favorite tracks on the record. I was going to bring that up a little bit later. But there is this sound that Bleachers has, which I feel that almost then plays into production of other artists. I don't want to really talk too much about your work with other artists, but there are albums that I think have been released maybe in the last year, maybe by a pint-sized Coachella headliner. But even in big singles from her, you can hear, if you remove her vocals, I feel like Manchild almost sounds like a Bleachers track in the way that those guitars run against each other. And I think that there's, 3 sets of percussion or drums layered on top of each other that then almost has this Bleachers-esque quality to it. Do you ever find that the music that you're making with Bleachers bleeds then out into the other artists that you work with? Did they influence that?
Yeah, I mean, there's a huge interplay with everything. And the guys in Bleachers will also play on a lot of albums I produce. They're much like a wrecking crew for me. Like there's things when I'm producing something, it's basically like finding some blend of things. So then by the end of all of it, the most important thing above all is that by the end of all of it, it can only be that person's record. Like that's how I feel about Bleacher songs. Like, when I hear this new album, songs like Dirty Wedding Dress, anything in the album, like I need to arrive at a point where I'm like, no one else could do this song. It would sound ridiculous. And that's how I feel about, everything I work on, whether you mentioned like Manchild or songs like that, like no one else could sing that song. It wouldn't be right. This is so her. And I feel that way. That's kind of when I know something has arrived, is I have this thought where I'm like, well, it's reached a level of specific that it's completely planted in where it is. And that's just the kind of music I love. There's brilliant songs that are more like standard style or more for everyone and everyone can sing but yeah, when I'm working, above all, I'm thinking about getting hyper specific with sound.
Just totally fair. I'm wondering whether you might indulge me. I know we already kind of touched on it, but I Can't Believe You're Gone. It's this beautiful track, almost like a ballad of sorts. It's on the second half of the record. Beautiful synths across that song. Wondering if you might indulge me a little, talk about, I guess, where that song kind of came from or what inspired it.
Well, sometimes I have like broad ideas of a type of song I'd like to write. And I knew I wanted to write a song about the relationship between tangible things and loss, because often it's like you lose someone and, it's like the memories, the stories, yada, yada, yada. But actually the thing that more quickly can just like rip you right back into that moment is like, a thing, an action figure, a Burger King crown, a sand bottle, a piece of just some sense memory. And so I knew I wanted to write a song about how bizarre and kind of unfair that is. And I was trying to find that phrase of what that's like. Like I had the structure in my head, like, okay, I'll write about the sort of like things, the sort of trappings of life, like the ornaments of life. And then I'll wrap it up with the feeling when I do get ripped back. And what's that feeling? And then I kind of thought, oh, it's just, I can't believe we're gone. It's this stunned feeling. You lose all intellect. You lose all your tools of how you rationalize, cope, understand things, and you're left with this like total bewilderment. I can't believe you're gone. And there's and that's the thing about loss and grief, is that it never gets better. It just sort of becomes manageable, but you can always reach it in its totality. And you can't always know when or why you're going to reach that. So that's the beginning of that song. And then obviously, my wife was working in Ireland, and I was like, maybe I'll go to Ireland and record the song. And then I was like, well, maybe it should sound a bit Irish. And that's how I started writing those changes. And one thing leads to another. And surprisingly, then I get to Ireland and had to come home one day later because my grandmother died, which from that perspective only made me want to finish the song more. I was even more acutely aware of some of these feelings. But yeah, my favorite songs usually start from like a place of like, I want to write this type of song. This is what I want to say. This is a point I feel like I'd like to make in song.
I think that's a really interesting way of like building a song, because I know for some it's inspiration from maybe like a line or something like that, and then building a song from almost the not nostalgia, maybe the vibe, for lack of a better term, of building the song around that, I find really interesting. I know that when you were previously on the podcast and we were lucky enough to chat, we spoke around the release of Take the Sadness Out of Saturday Night, and you were very kind. You told us where you got your songwriting start and what originally inspired you to, write music and write songs. Wondering this time around if you might discuss, I guess, what you feel are strengths within songwriting. Like, what do you think is something that you have improved with over time? And is there still a goal for yourself, even as one of the world's most celebrated and loved songwriters? Is there still a mark that you'd like to reach in the songwriting capacity?
Oh, always. I always want to cut closer and closer and closer and deeper and deeper and deeper. And I'm well aware that there's no clear path there. It's just a felt thing. Maybe the thing that I'm searching for next will be the most simple thing and most common. You just don't know. But I think the biggest thing I've learned is just there's no way to get around the gut feeling. Sometimes in the past, because I'm not sure this is a type of work that, it's not really like it just sort of comes and goes. So I feel like the things that I work on around it are more an understanding of the process rather than the process itself. The process is a bit holy, just let it be. But the understanding of it is super helpful to me. And like a perfect example of that in recent years is letting up on what I've put into something and just sitting with what I'm hearing back. Because it really doesn't matter. And in the past, when I was younger, and the work was like less potent to me, it was because I was obsessed with how I was doing it. Then I would fall in love with the process, but maybe I didn't reach where I needed to reach. And so that's something that is a good example of like a super like tangible thing that I'm getting better at of just not giving a shit about anything besides what I'm feeling when I hear something back, almost divorcing myself from what it took to make it, because it really doesn't matter.
Do you find that then that allows you to, and maybe it almost, again, playing back into the album, there's an experimentation, I feel, or an evolution of the sound and different kind of playgrounds of sonics that you're playing with. Do you think that is where that comes from in terms of the relinquishing control of certain aspects of it?
Definitely. The lack of control is like the form itself. And then you start to like I find myself trying to shift my expertise into just like being available to spot it rather than to trick myself into thinking I can turn it on and off, because I really can't. Which can be anxiety producing, but it just like is what it is. It's like, I'm not trying to write many songs. There's a very specific feeling I'm looking for, and I just get it or I don't, and I can't manufacture it. I can only recognize it when I hear it. So I just noticed that it like serves the work best if I'm just insanely honest about that, even to the, even if it causes sadness.
100%. I think that there's a lot of different things that people will be able to pick up on this album, which I'm really excited for people to hear. I am excited as well because I believe that when this episode is coming out, you'll be kicking off the brand new US Bleachers tour, following the extremely successful From the Studio to the Stage tour, which saw you guys headline Madison Square Garden. Congratulations on that, because that's a very exciting achievement
Thanks.
for the band, of course. Is there, I guess, how are you feeling? Have rehearsals been going well? Are we excited to get back out there and showcase these new songs and see how they kind of fit alongside the catalogue?
So bullish about that. There couldn't, sometimes you release an album, you put a tour here, there. This one, we just nailed it in terms of like the time from the album to the tour. It's like, it's all happening in such a great moment. I'm really happy about the schedule we put together, but I also feel like there's never been a time in my life when I felt like a drive on a different level to be out there playing with the band. Like I never thought that would be something that people didn't do, and as like making music and recording music and playing live, there's all like dumb options against that now. You could like fake it, you could do this, you could play the track, you could have a computer make your music. Like I feel this like blazing fire in me to double down hard on what we do. Not that I wouldn't have anyway, but there's just something really alive in it right now. It feels I want to meet people where I believe they are.
Totally fair. I think that's a very exciting thing to hear. Might be a bit of an obvious question. Can we expect to maybe see Bleachers come down and visit us in Australia at some point? I think it's been maybe 9 years since Drinks.
It's ridiculous. I live in shame. We've got to.
Well, hopefully, look, putting it out into the universe, manifesting that. Very excited for to see how the tour goes in the US, and to also hopefully maybe see some Australian dates. Jack, we usually wrap things up asking our guests what they're currently listening to. I imagine a lot of music comes across your desk at the moment. Anything that's on high rotation, anything that you want to shout out?
Yeah, I'm loving the Grace Ives album.
Mm-hmm. Great record.
That's one that I'm loving right now, that everyone should check out if they haven't yet.
I think she's playing your festival as well when... Yes. Yeah. Look, yeah. Fantastic record. Great shout. Jack Antonoff, thank you very much for coming back onto the podcast. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you.
Thanks for having me, Simon. I'll see you down there.